Hi everyone, my name is Ariel Long, and for this project I chose the two books Ikigai, The Japanese Secret to a Long and Happy Life by Hector Garcia and Francesc Morales, and then I also chose the Oxford Handbook of Happiness as my scholarly book. These books cover a huge range of subjects on happiness, especially the Oxford Handbook. Ikigai covers the quality of life related to happiness and the longevity that people have when they are happier. And then the Oxford Handbook of Happiness also goes into that and gives a little bit more in-depth information. Now, the reason I chose the quality of life in relation to happiness is because I deal with a tremendous amount of stress in my life. I am a single mother of 3. I work a full-time job, a part-time job. I have a craft business on the side, and I go to college. So obviously there's tons of stress all the time. And I wanted to see how stress affects your quality of life and essentially your happiness. So the first thing I'm going to do is go into these books and kind of give a brief summary and also discuss why I chose that specific book. So the first one I want to talk about is Ikigai. This book is about 2 authors, Hector and Francesc, wanted to write this book on this way of life that people haven't really discussed anywhere. Ikigai is a Japanese word. It means the art or the it's the art of keeping busy. I wanted to make sure I got that right. And essentially it is where you enter a state of flow, and you just stay busy and you don't notice time passing, so obviously you're happier. And they go to Okinawa, where people are living their longest lives. There's like tons of people over the age of 100. Like, that's not surprising there, that's a common thing. And they all have what they call their Ikigai. And they interview some of the older people about what they do and how they keep busy, and what their Ikigais are and how you manage to find them. The Oxford Handbook of Happiness is obviously very, very scholarly. The reason I chose it was because I couldn't find a scholarly book that I thought gave me what I needed. So I went big. I got the Oxford Handbook on happiness, and I thought, if nothing else, this will have so much information in there that it will relate to any popular book that I pick. So I was trying to work a little smarter and not harder on that aspect, but it gave tremendous amounts of information. Okay, so in both the Oxford Handbook and Ikigai, they discuss stress and how it can affect your happiness. So stress will release pathogens that are similar to the ones that are released when you're sick. And the reason this is detrimental to your health and can cause you to develop other diseases and other physical problems is because not only does it attack unhealthy cells, but they will attack healthy cells, causing you to age rapidly and develop these other problems. Like, you can have strokes and heart attacks and stuff like that because of stress levels. And in the Oxford Handbook of Happiness, it goes into certain mental illnesses that people have that are harder for people to be happy with. So most of them relate to different stress levels, because you keep a constant level of stress trying to avoid your triggers with these mental illnesses. So they are social anxiety, depression, which I do have, PTSD, which I do have, schizophrenia, general anxiety, which I do have, and bipolar disorder. So you have so many different factors with these mental illnesses where you're trying to avoid your triggers. You're trying to think of either the future or the past. You're wondering if you should have done this, if it's going to come back and bite you, or how can I avoid doing this in the future? How can I avoid this trigger where I don't have to have an episode of whatever it is that you're dealing with? So in Ikigai, they talk about how you need to take life slow, how you need to relax. And most of the people that live to be over 100 had slow lives, had relaxing lives, had lives where they were not filled with stress. They say that you don't need to multitask, because when you multitask, you're actually doing worse at both projects instead of just focusing on one. And the art of Ikigai is focusing on that one thing that makes you happy. And then you get into your state of flow, which we learned in class is one of the moments in time when we feel our happiest. We don't notice it until afterwards, but it is something that happens. So their Ikigai, mostly there, is gardening. They're really into gardening. They have vegetable gardens, and they eat the vegetables from their garden, but they also go out and, you know, have fun with friends. They don't try to start arguments. They don't try to start fights. They try to keep this very happy, mellow community sense with them, and that is what's giving them a higher quality of life. It's giving them more happiness, which in turn leads to living longer lives, because you have less of that stress and those distractions that we in America deal with every single day. And then in the Oxford Book of Happiness, they discuss how emotions drive you and how you have this thing called, a subjective well-being, which is the measure of your positive effects and negative effects and your overall life satisfaction. So obviously these people in Okinawa have a higher self or life satisfaction because they're happy with their lives. They are happy being with their friends. They're happy going out every morning and waving and saying hello to people who are walking by on the street, and then going and doing their Ikigai. And emotions, they will drive you to achieve your goals, or even hold you back from achieving your goals, depending on what they are. So having that, sense of happiness around you all the time helps you reach your goal, which helps you have a higher life satisfaction, which in turn raises your subjective well-being. They do discuss how subjective well-being can fluctuate over time, but it's mostly a set thing with your overall experience with life. But being around happier things can raise your subjective well-being and cause you to just be happier in the long run. I would say my subjective well-being personally is not as great as other people's, and that's purely because of the pressure that I put on myself for things. Now, one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about with this is what my Ikigai would be, and how these books help me realize what I need to do. So one of my favorite things in the entire world is to be creative. I like to craft. I like to create anything. And I'm very big on switching hobbies. I like to jump around from different things, and I always think, oh, I can make that. And I noticed that when I am creating, I am happier. So I would say that Ikigai that I have is creating stuff, crafting, in a very broad sense of the word. They do discuss how if you are trying to find your Ikigai, you should take things that you already like. So if you enjoy gardening, maybe try rock gardening instead, just placing rocks in aesthetically pleasing places. Or if you enjoy cooking, branch out, do baking maybe, or something to do with chemistry even, because there's a lot of chemistry in baking. So if you don't know what it is you like, you need to branch out into similar things, but are still related to things you already like. And then one of the things that will help you keep active and focused on your Ikigai is staying motivated and challenging yourself. So in both books it mentions how you need to stay busy. And one of the ways you can do that is take your Ikigai, something that you love to do, and add just something a little harder in there. Say you love to bake, try a recipe you never thought you could do before. Or if you enjoy dancing, try a dance move that you haven't been able to achieve. Keep your simple thing that you enjoy, but throw a few little harder things in there just to sprinkle it up a little bit. So with this project, I have learned that I need to slow down with my life because I am constantly going, constantly multitasking, constantly on edge. And to raise the quality of life that I live, I need to slow down. I need to focus on one thing. I need to be more in the moment and less in the future or in the past. So I really feel like these books help anyone who is trying to figure out how to live a happier life, how to live a better life, and how to elongate their life would really benefit from these books. Thank you, everyone.